Hello and welcome to the next edition of our podcast Lights in Europe. Today we speak to Gathoye, who's there to work on a bit of myth-busting around EU careers for the general public to better understand what it's like to work for the European institutions. So she's managing the program which allows us as staff to express ourselves on social media and explain a bit more about our careers. And there's also another pillar of this work for students, which expressly helps the students to understand the possibilities for getting recruited by the European institutions. So listen to this edition if you wonder whether it's true that bureaucrats are grey and boring human beings, and what are the possibilities if you want to join the program, for instance, as a student and you don't know where to start. So today we speak with Gathoye. Hello, Anne-Claire.
Hello, good afternoon.
So you are a very interesting person in the Commission because you're actually working on busting all these myths about the EU officials being boring, lazy, grey people, and you're actually helping all of us to get out there and shine our light and maybe show a little bit more to the general public what the careers in the European Commission is about. So explain us a little bit more, what is it that you work on?
Yeah, well, at least we're trying to indeed change the image a bit. And one of my tasks in my job actually is to meet a lot of young people. So that's what I find really exciting and fun. I can talk to you about a network of students we have throughout Europe. These are students we select every day in top universities. We call them the eucareers ambassadors, and they are a bit like our public relations on their campuses. So basically they come to Brussels for a weekend. We give them a full training. They start to learn what the career opportunities are in the institutions, and then they go back to their countries and spread the word. So raise awareness about what kind of careers you can have in EU institutions. And at the end of that weekend, when they come to Brussels, we always hear very nice comments and excited comments from them, saying it was the time of their lives. They met so many interesting people from all over Europe. It was amazing. They had lots of fun. So in that sense, it already opens their eyes a bit, and I think their enthusiasm, they take it with them back in their countries. So for us, it's very rewarding to see that group of young people.
I remember the other day when I was part of this weekend with the students, we had this speed dating exercise when we basically, us as staff, a couple of us were sitting in the room, and the groups of students from all around Europe were rotating around the table where we were, and we were basically chatting about how we passed the competition to get into the institutions, what our jobs are about, and what is the career advice that we would like them to basically bring home, because they are somehow a bridge between us and the schools that they're representing. And so that's why I think this program is so powerful, because we hope that through the weekend experience the students will become somehow the eyes and ears of the institutions.
Absolutely, and they really love this part of speed networking actually that you took part in. Because it's an opportunity for them to meet real people, real officials, behind the image of grey suits, boring people that you were talking about at the beginning. They really see that we are normal people with interesting lives and jobs and very different profiles. So for them, I think it's an eye-opener indeed. And the comments we get from the weekends also are generally that this part of speed networking is one of the favorite parts of the program, because it really entices interaction with real people. They have opportunities to ask any question in an informal context. They also get to learn some of the life in Brussels, so all that makes them very much enthusiastic.
Do you know any numbers for Slovakia? Because I remember that once I've met a lady from Eastern Slovakia, from one of the universities there, but I have no clue how big is the representation for my country, really.
Yeah, actually we have every year 2 students from Slovakia who do this role of eucareers ambassadors, so our public relations on their campuses. 2 ambassadors that may sound a bit short, but actually they do quite a good job. Last year they organized 11 events together, but it touched and it reached really a lot of people. In total, it was almost 800 people that attended those events, or career fairs, presentation at universities and stuff like that. So it's quite a big amount of people reached.
And so if somebody's listening to us from, I assume these two of them are in Bratislava and Košice, the two biggest cities?
Exactly, yes.
And so if somebody from a university in another city was interested to join the program, can they just email somebody here in Brussels, or do they have to go through some kind of a selection process?
Actually, in February, we publish a list of universities where we want to have ambassadors. This list is set up with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and generally, indeed, we use these two biggest universities, but we're always open to discussion. So if anyone else from another university wants to apply, they can also apply during that phase. So it will be from end of February till end of March 2020 on our website, epso.eu. epso.eu. It will be easy to find in Google, I think.
EPSO meaning the European Personal
Selection Office. I can also say
which is the HR office of the Commission.
Exactly. So the application phase will be open at that time, February, March next year. If the university is not listed in the list of pre-selected universities by the ministry, no problem. We can talk with the ministry and ask for their opinion if we can add one more.
And so there is also a sister program of this program that we're talking about, which is for staff. So the one we were talking about is the EU student ambassadors, which are the students who serve as ambassadors of the EU at their universities.
That's right.
And then there is a program which I'm also part of, which is called EU Staff Ambassadors, where us as staff of the European Commission or of the institutions, I don't know,
the institutions,
we become ambassadors of the profession, really. And so we try to share the word a little bit about what it's like to work for the institutions and why I think is the coolest job one can have if one is interested in international relations and creating Europe. So can you tell us a bit more about the mission of the program and what it looks like?
Yeah. Okay, well, the Staff Ambassadors program, it started in 2010, I think, with a very small group of people, I think something like 12 people, a very, very limited amount. And now this group are actually voluntary people, so goodwill ambassadors, I would say. We don't reward them, we don't pay them. It's really from their own initiative that they want to join this network, because they want to show real faces of the EU, real stories of EU officials. We try to attract more and more staff ambassadors to make this network grow. At the moment we have about 105 staff ambassadors, so it's growing. From Slovakia we have 3 at the moment. But you are one of the most active ones, I think, and there's another one also from the same place of employment, and another one from the Commission you are. And we also have staff ambassadors from other institutions, so we have another Slovak person who works in the Committee of the Regions.
Oh, cool.
So, but we also have staff ambassadors from the Parliament, the Council, so all the big institutions.
And so the form through which we do the ambassadorship is, what I'm aware of is that we post stuff on social media where we share how do we feel about our jobs and what is it that we would want the outside world to know beyond the myths that are really out there. Plus we organize all these back to school sessions, and when we go home to speak, for instance, at schools or with general public, we always try to include a bit of the personal career story into the story so that people understand what's the story behind the policy and the European area that we actually work on. So what is the form beyond this, what I described?
I think you made a perfect summary of it. So on our social media we post a picture and a quote of one of our staff ambassadors every week.
So the social media is eucareers.
Eucareers, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn, yes. So we publish those posts every week, and these are actually one of the biggest successes we have on our social media generally. That's the ones that get the biggest number of likes. So every time it's a picture of one of our colleagues with a little quote explaining what they do concretely with their job. So now we've changed a bit the format, and we have a bit more space, so we can really go a bit deeper into what they do, and this seems to be very much appreciated. And then indeed we have the speed networking that we mentioned before also, so an opportunity to meet students or visitors or people working in universities and career services, for instance. So we do this kind of event several times a year, and we invite some of our colleagues, staff ambassadors, to again chat with those people and explain what they do. And then also, of course, these back to school programs are very important, back to university. So our colleagues go back to the places where they studied and explain concretely what they do. And it has a huge impact, I think, for people, on young students that see a real person coming and explaining concretely again what they do. So.
And when you look at the content really of what is being posted on social media, what is the type of information about our job that is most interesting for the general audience? When you hear a feedback from them where they're really surprised and they say, oh, I wouldn't have expected that the eucareers is also about this. What kind of angle to our careers is the most impactful myth-busting element?
So I think it's for people to realize that there are really human beings behind every theoretical job. So seeing maybe someone from your own country appearing on Facebook, for instance, and discovering the career that they have in a totally different environment with different topics. So indeed, the storytelling behind a theoretical job.
What is your personal story? What is the story that brought you into the European institutions?
Well, I don't come from very far away. I'm Belgian. I was born in the area of Liège. That's about 100 kilometers from Brussels. But then I moved to Brussels for work.
Does it mean that you grew up surrounded with people from the European institutions and understanding what this job is about, actually? Or
not so much, actually. I'm not a very, very good example of what I can see around me, with my colleagues, in the sense that I was born in Belgium, studied in Belgium, didn't even go on Erasmus, worked only in Belgium, so I didn't travel much except for holidays. But then, of course, I know a few people, including my sister, who started working for the institutions, and they told me how interesting it is to meet so many people from different cultures and backgrounds. So first I started actually working in Brussels, in the private sector, in the communication field. So first in first in a pharmaceutical company, then an insurance company. And then I had the opportunity to take a competition to work in the institution, so I tried my luck. And I started first as a secretary, actually, in Directorate General for Competition. And then I heard of a very interesting post job, actually, being available in EPSO, the European Personnel Selection Office, and I applied, and it worked. They took me. First to work on the organization of the interviews with the candidates. So the candidates who try the competitions, just like I had done a few years before. It requires a whole organization, of course. You have to find jury members, organize the interviews and everything. So I was in charge of that part, the organizational part, I would say. And then 2 years ago, I've offered another job, still in EPSO, but in the communication part again. So it was going back to my first jobs, and for me it was really, really interesting, an opportunity I couldn't miss. But so I'm still working at the same place for about 10 years, but actually I've done 3 different jobs during this time. So for me it's also very interesting to know and to notice and to experience that you can have different jobs within one life.
Inside of the institution, yes. And keep moving.
Yeah, and also what I forgot to mention, very important thing, when I started working in the private sector, I was working again in Belgium with Belgians only. And so when I joined the institutions, it was like my sister had told me, it was such a richness really to discover all those people from different places, backgrounds, cultures. We have a lot of celebrations too, for different reasons, because every country has its own traditions. So it's a lot of fun too. So I love that really.
And so if somebody is tempted now and thinking to themselves, it's something that I would like to try and explore the possibilities of working at the European Commission, at the institutions, but it seems so difficult and mission impossible, given that you're always competing with tens of thousands of people out there from around Europe. What is the number one career advice you would give to the people if they dream of European careers and they think it's like really, really unreachable for them? Well,
first of all, it's not unreachable, because every year we have about 2,000 people who make it, so to lists of successful candidates and who get offered a job afterwards. So it's proof that really everyday people manage. Including me, I would say you have nothing to lose trying. You can also try several times. Actually, I must confess, it was my case. I tried a few times, and I wasn't the best first of all.
How many times did you try? Because I think it's a national sport here that all of us have had to start it and try a couple of times.
I passed when I tried for the fourth time or something like that. So you don't get discouraged by that, because anyway, you don't have nothing to lose. It doesn't cost anything. You just try. Get ready, and if you're really motivated, I think you finally make it through. You can also apply for a lower position, maybe like an assistant, and then grow to another position. So it's absolutely feasible. It was my case, more or less. So as I told you, I studied as a secretary. Now I'm officially a project manager. So you see, I grew also. So I would say don't hesitate, really. It's worth it. Okay. It's really interesting, and you will work and meet amazing people.
And one last thing to conclude, what is the favorite fun fact about European careers that you like to say to people, which blows their mind because they haven't heard about it before?
I would say, for me, it's really the multicultural environment. That's, for me, the main point. Also, what I like a lot is that I'm not trying to make money for a company. I'm trying to give a service to as many people as I can. So also one part of my job is to meet lots of groups of visitors who come to get information, and I love to see them discover things and go away with their minds being more open, maybe because they had not thought of everything we do here. So giving a service, making them happy, I think this is the most rewarding part of this stakeholder, as we call it, interaction, when we meet people from the general public and you see that through one day spent in Brussels or half an hour or a couple of hours with you in the visitor center or elsewhere, you really shift their perception of the EU and Brussels and the crowd of people working here. So that's really rewarding. Exactly.
Thank you very much.
With pleasure.
And good luck with the program.
Thank you so much.